if you look like 5 or 10 years ago at security tools, they were trying to solve security concern. And who's the customer? That's the security guy. The security guy, and you need to keep him happy. You need to give a tool that basically alerts when something happens and give him the ability to fix it. But there is a shift in the world, right? Developers are starting to use the cloud. They have AWS, they have Microsoft, they use infrastructure as a code, many tools, open source tools, and they are starting to get a lot of power. With that power comes the responsibility. And the responsibility is not to risk the organization.
Welcome to Audience First, a podcast for tech marketers looking to break out of the echo chamber to better understand their audience and turn them into loyal customers. Every week, Dani Woolf has brutally honest conversations with busy tech buyers about what really motivates them, the things they hate that vendors do, and what you can do about it. Get access to practical information on how to build authentic relationships with your audience. Listen to and talk with your buyers, and apply real customer insights to your strategies and tactics. You owe it to the world to unmute your mic. Are you ready?
This episode is proudly sponsored by Checkpoint Software, a leading provider of cybersecurity solutions to over 100,000 corporate enterprises and governments globally. Checkpoint Infinity's portfolio of solutions protects enterprises and public organizations from fifth-generation cyber attacks, with an industry-leading catch rate of malware, ransomware, and other threats. To learn more about Checkpoint and its Infinity portfolio, visit checkpoint.com. Today I have two very special guests, as always. Idan, Didi, and Bipin Gajbhiye. Bipin, did I pronounce your last name right?
Yeah, that's pretty correct.
Right. I am notorious for butchering last names on this podcast, so thank you very much. Thank you. I practice. Excellent. Cool. So, Idan, tell me, who are you? What do you do? And why the hell do you do it?
Sure. So I'm Idan Didi. I'm one of the founders of a startup called Spectral. Spectral is basically a code scanner, everything around shift left security. Basically, scan the code for developer mistakes that can cause a security breach. And we started the startup about 3 years ago because things we saw on the market. And about a year ago, we joined Checkpoint. And now we are basically the Checkpoint solution for code security. So I'm very proud to be part of a huge company, great company for security, but still doing the startup that I love. So that's me in a nutshell.
Why do you do it though?
So I started because I love startups, and a friend actually came to me and said, listen, I have a great idea. You have to hear this. The CEO of Spectral came to me. He basically built the engine of Spectral, and he explained to me I was new. To be honest, I was new to cyber at the time, but he needed somebody who will take a lead in the business side. And I started learning about the gaps. And back at the time, 3 years ago, this was a huge gap that we noticed, is that developers do a lot of amazing stuff also in the teams I was managing and helping and working with. But the thing is, they will make a mistake. And the thing with developers' mistake, it can be very, very painful. So what we wanted to build was a tool that developers would love and will also prevent those security mistakes. And when I started meeting companies, when we started here in Israel, we started meeting companies, and the feedback we got was amazing. Like basically we started at April 2020. If you remember, that was the first wave of COVID. Nobody was doing business back at the time. Everybody was closing the doors. Nobody wanted to go out of the house. But still, when we were talking about our idea in Spectral, everybody was listening. Everybody got excited. We got huge logos within a couple of months from starting. We raised a lot of money from VC. So everything was going very, very fast. And I needed to learn what to do and how to sell it and how to talk to customers very, very fast. And I think for me, that was the reason I was doing it. The reason is that it's exciting to build something from scratch. It is exciting to help people get something they never got before. And now there are other products maybe, but 2 years ago, we were completely, I think we were the first in many of the things we were doing. We gave values that nobody had. And it was super exciting to figure out what people need and then to deliver it. And I think that's the bottom line. And sorry for the long answer. But
No,
that's why that's why I'm doing it, and that's why it's so exciting.
Well, you unraveled a lot there that we're about to dig into, but let's throw it to Bipin. Bipin, who are you? What do you do? And why the hell do you do it?
Yeah, so I'm Bipin Gajbhiye. I'm in application security for last 12 years. Currently, I'm working at Stripe as a security engineer, as well as like a security partner, part of a security partnership team. I've been in AppSec for all my professional career. Started off with consulting, gone into the product company after that, worked for Oracle, Salesforce, and now working at Stripe. And why do I do it? Because I like it. I think security is very much fun. I started with doing pen testing, and like breaking things was pretty fun and pretty exciting. So that got me hooked into that. And then the more I learned about it, the more I got carried into it. So yeah, I love what I do. It's definitely interesting for sure, and it has like different challenges every day. Being a security engineer here, every week is not same, so I like that excitement.
That's a very common theme that I hear on the podcast: excitement of things changing, the dynamic nature of the industry, challenges, breaking things, building them back up. Now, I want to shift the conversation a little bit to understand what keeps you both up at night. And I'm assuming, Idan, that what keeps you up at night is building startups and your boys. But apart from that, tell me a little bit about what are your main challenges right now over at Spectral in your role.
So, first of all, we are still in a startup mode. Even now, as part of Checkpoint, so we have the same organic small team that is building stuff. And I think what is happening in the market today for the last few months, the economic macro changes, everybody are trying to save money, everybody are trying to get everything in one tool. And I think that kind of changed the strategy that we have as a startup. If as a startup we wanted to be best at one thing, now we kind of try to be good at many things. And the balance between the two is super challenging, because you keep it's not an easy, right? You can't be best in everything. You need to balance, you need to decide what to do, you need to decide how you're gonna go to the next thing, how you're gonna get the next customers. And obviously the goals are getting much bigger. We've been growing X5 pretty much every year, and we need to continue doing so. And it's very, very challenging. And it seems like it's becoming more and more challenging, especially in today's market. So I think solving that is still something for me, it's a huge challenge. And every month is a challenge. How do we get the next customers? How do we get to the next type of products and stuff like that?
Mm-hmm. How about you, Bipin?
Yeah, for me, the things I'm responsible for. So anything, if there's a new breach coming, if there's a new security vulnerability came out, or like a zero-day attack, those things definitely keeps me up at night. But anything which I'm responsible for, or in terms of security, that could have a customer impact, or that could have a material impact or financial impact. I
have to ask about this, because this is really interesting for me, because I know that obviously Stripe is a financial organization. You have a lot of important information, and application security is probably one of the most important things in the company. And you are responsible for, such a large amount of it, and the risks keep coming, right? Every week there is a new breach, there is a new challenge, there is a new article about something that can happen. It's like an never-ending game that you need to play.
Yeah.
How do you choose what to do first? How do you choose how do you balance between the challenges? Because it seems to be basically impossible. Every couple of days there is something new. And those things, it's really hard to say, at least in my perspective, it's really hard to say what is like super critical. We have to stop everything and look at it. And what is, okay, let's continue. We'll fix this.
Yeah, I can't go much detail of that, but I mean at the end of the day, we are in business of minimizing risks and not eliminating risk. So we do whatever we do to minimize the risk, the impact. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to keep up with everything that's going on. One day something, next day it's something else. But does it really impact you? That's the important question. And what's the severity of it?
When I was taking a look and preparing for this conversation, a phrase stuck out to me. It was really stood out to me. It was called developer first security. Now, anything with a first at the end makes me very excited because audience first. But what is developer first security and why?
So I will try to answer this, and I would say this. So if you look like 5 or 10 years ago at security tools, they were trying to solve security concern. And who's the customer? That's the security guy. The security guy, and you need to keep him happy. You need to give a tool that basically alerts when something happens and give him the ability to fix it. But there is a shift in the world, right? Developers are starting to use the cloud. They have AWS, they have Microsoft, they use infrastructure as a code, many tools, open source tools, and they are starting to get a lot of power. And with that power comes the responsibility. And the responsibility is not to risk the organization. And when they were trying to use the same tools, basically it wasn't developer first, or it wasn't developer friendly. It was very annoying for developers to use those tools. They were super slow. They have the dashboard we all know, and it's not the developer user experience that they used to. And tools start. And I think actually there are examples before Spectral. There are great examples of company who started focusing on the developer experience and making sure that the tool is also friendly to developers. So I'm not sure if it's like developer first or developer friendly, because it's also, the tool needs to be also friendly for security people, not just developers. So both security are important and developer are important. But I think that the thing, to build a UX, a user experience that is really friendly for developer, and the developers will feel that they are getting value. It's not annoying for them, etc.
Oh, gotta unmute myself. But what are kind of some of the features that resonate with developers versus the traditional security practitioner? You're talking about speed, right? You're talking about cloud, but
I would love to hear also what Bipin think of.
The developer first is kind of like a change in the security practices from the recent years, from going to more active to being proactive, and empowering developers to own the security, own the issues, fix the issues, find vulnerabilities very early on. And that's why we go into DevOps cycle, and then we kind of bake security into the pipeline, so that you kind of catch the issue very early on, and developers are not waiting for security engineers to get an approval or get they can push code to production and take care of security by themselves and own it.
So I'm going to interject here, if I may, because what you said kind of alarms me. Developers are in charge of security. That alarms me a little bit.
Yeah, they own security. They're not fully in charge, but the shift is that they should feel empowered to take decisions, and there should be tools in place, there's automation in place where we catches issues as they're writing code. So the whole idea of shift left is you put security, like in, let's say, like 5-7 years, 10 years back, you used to do pen testing, you used to do post-production work, you do like close code scanning after the thing is already running in production. But with the shift left is that you are doing that as soon as you push the code, you do the scanning, you check for the automated test cases, you see for like regression issues or security issues. And that's the whole shift in a mindset, as well as the part about giving developer more, empowering developer with the more security expertise and knowledge, is that it is the scale of the development that's happening right now is a lot. So they don't want to, if they go through the traditional route, there has to be a security engineer get involved. They have to review things, they have to approve things or reject things and give the recommendation. In this case, we are still involved, but more as an advisory role, and more as like a educational, teaching developers things.
The way we looked at it in Spectral is that, like you said, the developers needs to be the owner. So let's say, for example, the developer is working in GitHub and maybe using Jenkins CI, etc.
Yeah.
So you should be able to solve the issues there.
Yeah.
And in GitHub, it doesn't need to go to a dashboard, doesn't need to go to another tool, etc. Everything, all the alerts, all the ability fixing is all there. But at the same time, the information is also sent to a dashboard or another tool or another visibility better view that the security owner is getting. So the way we solved it at this exactly, we said, okay, the developer is owning security, has the ability to get an alert, fix an issue in a very quick way as part of his work process in GitHub or GitLab or whatever he's used to working. If he's working with Slack, he should get alert in Slack. If he's pushing the code in Jenkins, he needs to get the etc. But in the same time, an alert is sent to the dashboard. The security owner knows that, okay, there is an issue. It was fixed, it wasn't fixed, it was skipped, whatever it is. And this way, there is a balance between the ownership.
Totally agree with that. Yeah, there has to like right balance. It's not like they are fully responsible, but at any point of time, they are the ones who are gonna fix that issue, right? Push the code. So that's the whole idea.
What are some of the ways, though, that, because I can imagine that there might be some barriers or challenges on the developer side in terms of, implementing security initiatives. There's some maybe knowledge gap there, if I may say. What are some of the prescriptive ways, security practitioners can help those developers kind of catch up in order to be, the champions of security in shift left? Idan, maybe there are some examples that you could maybe explain, or kind of steps that you can explain to the audience today that they could take away from this conversation.
Yeah, so I think I'll try to answer, but I'll also say something additional around it. So I think developers today, they kind of understand the risk when they work. They read about this, and nobody wants to be the guy that caused the breach. But in many cases, they are lacking the attention, right? Everybody works for their KPI, right? Their KPI is to develop fast. They need to develop fast. And so they know that, okay, if I'm using the wrong open source, that's not good. But I don't have the time to check what the open source I should do. So I know that I'm supposed to use a Vault when I'm using secrets, but I don't have the time to check what exactly the best practice is and how to do it, etc. So they just write code. And so I think there is in the back of that, there is the knowledge, but what we need to do is kind of extract it. We need to provide them an easy way when they work to tell them, okay, guys, listen, that there is something you chose the wrong open source. Please, instead of this one, please use this one. Or please note that there is a secret or a password that you just exposed to the organization. Before you continue, just make it. So basically, what's the best practice here? So the best practice is when the developer is doing the commit or the writing the code, if it's in the IDE or wherever it works, you want to give him this aha moment that there is something you need to do a little bit different, but without annoying him. And the annoying is important, because earlier I was talking about a lot of old generation tool, and one of the things they had was a lot of false positive. The developer was really annoyed by getting many things that they need to check it, because they had so many things to check. At the end of the day, they didn't have time to actually develop, and they were turning off the tools and they said, okay, I know that there is some risk, but I don't have the time to actually start investigating everything. So the tools that the organization should choose is tools that at least 95% of the things that they are alerting are things that actually the developer can choose. And by the way, this actually changes between one organization to another, because some organization can say, and we work with a very large bank, for example, and they said, we want to make sure that no PCI and PII information is in the code. And that's not a regular use case. Most organizations don't check for PCI and PII information in the code. But this is, because this is a bank, they cared about PCI information and thought this is the use that they want to prevent. So what are we checking can change between one organization to another. The level of willingness to receive risk is also can change between one organization to another. But the best practice is actually to deliver this knowledge with low false positive in a fast way to the developer in a way that he can fix. And also, just to touch the last point, we really need to tell him how to fix. If we just told the developer there is a problem, now go and investigate how to fix it, that's not enough. Because that's you are wasting the developer time, he gets annoyed, he loses attention, he will not use the tool. So we need to either give him a playbook or a couple of clicks, click here, and this is how you fix the issue. And these are the most important things if you want to do it in a way that developer will adopt the tool.
Yeah, and that's when the security teams comes in place, where they provide the right guidance, right call to action for fixing issues, and not just give a generic guidance, and provide like right steps to do it, or like have kind of a automation in place to trigger them that this is wrong, or this you have used this library or that library, or we are making, or like, without going much into details, but and anything that comes out as maybe secrets or anything which could potentially lead to a vulnerability at the right point in time, guidance is very important.
Mm-hmm. Bipin, what are kind of some of measures of success that you have to kind of report on from your role in regards to developer first security initiatives?
You think you can look at like historical data, how your program or security program has matured. There's different sources or different signals you can look at. Like let's say your bug bounty program, you can look at if there is increase in vulnerabilities or decrease in vulnerabilities submitted from researchers. All the companies, I'm sure, still did do pen testing from third party that tells you whether is whatever you're doing early on is working or not. And in post-production, like we are scanning the code, you're still finding those issues again and again. That's definitely looks like an opportunity to build a library or like build a framework around it and kind of provide a paved road to developers. So it's like an iterative process over a few months or years to figure out whether this is working, and you're always constantly tweaking things. There's no perfect security, so always have to go back, change few things, change approach, or
how do you choose where to focus? Right, if there are so many ways in the research, how do you choose, for example, which tool you buy, which tool you use open source, or which you say, okay, I'm not going to invest money in this? How do you choose in the area that you are in charge of? How do you choose in which areas to focus most? I'll give an example.
We are seeing the trend, where the trends are going. So if your issue is more in handling data versus insecure cloud configuration versus let's say error handling or authentication authorization. So,
and when you say trends, you mean the internal inside the organization, or stuff that is happening in the industry?
It's a combination of like multiple things. So when you measure the security posture, it's not just one thing that you consider. There is a whole set of things that comes into play and have different scores that decides like where do you stand, or which out of which this you have 10 different products, which one is at what stage and what are the gaps there. Regarding like vendors and toolings, it's totally depends on what are like biggest challenges you have, and where do you what are the existing vendors, like what are the existing tools are capable of doing, and are there anything good out there which can do a better job much more efficiently. And with all DevSecOps is everything has to be very developer friendly, and there has to be kind of a smooth integration with all the DevSecOps tools, or like DevOps pipeline.
And what do you think is the most recent trends that you see right now happening? Not necessarily in your organization, but also in general. What do you think is becoming more and more interesting right now?
I think since like the velocity of like pushing code is so much faster. There's release going on every major company, every week, every day sometimes, where there's a lot of things can go unnoticed.
I think when we started Spectral, it was like 3 years ago, we felt that the issue we started from was actually secret. So keys, token, password, all those things was something we felt is completely unprotected. Right, there were some tools for infrastructure as code. There were some tools for SCA, for open source vulnerabilities, but there was nothing good for secrets other than open source, which is obviously it's nice, but it's not enough for large organization. So we really focused on that problem. And the interesting part is that even now, 3 years ago, I still feel that maybe this is the most painful part, because this is like getting an AWS key outside. That's huge. That's a huge problem. Like it's not there's no additional layer of defense. Right? You have a key outside. If somebody has that key, you can hack to your database. That's
a lot of like big breaches happen for like small mistakes.
Yeah, and I think it's very crazy. I think that's really crazy that this is not a solved problem yet. That you still need a tool, and you still need tools like Spectral to scan for those secrets. And I know that many of the companies that we talk to have teams that are trying to mitigate this and trying to make sure that there are no secrets, and a dedicated team just for this problem.
Yes.
And it's crazy because, in my opinion, before I got into this area, I thought that like this is crazy. Why would somebody put a secret in the code? Like, why would you even go there? It's supposed to be obvious that it's not supposed to happen, but still, it happens every day. We see it honestly in every company we meet. It happen at least once. And when I say it happened, it's just not internally. It's like bad stuff happened. Just that sometimes it went without, nothing. It didn't go outside. Nobody noticed, but those things happen and are being and sometimes being used by bad actors.
Yeah, and then I totally agree with the open source part of it. There's so much code has been used and reused and from the open source libraries that you don't really write or own. And then if there's a vulnerability in that, it's hard to identify and like fix that and really figure out like, are we even using that library, or like you're using that function or not? So going to that function level or like that line of code is kind of sometimes tricky.
Yeah.
Are there any like juicy worst findings you've seen when it comes to developers stealing from open source code libraries with vulnerabilities? I don't know. Maybe you can't touch on that, but like,
I can talk only about stuff that happened in the newspaper. Right? There is an Israeli. So the stuff we found. Okay, maybe I'll tell a story. But when we started, one of our first customers, we were a new company. We didn't have any customer. We were starting to go into companies and telling them that we can do this, finding secrets and stuff. And they said, okay, this is nice, but we don't have money. It's not the right time. You are a startup. And we told them, listen, guys, you know what? And this was a NASDAQ public company. And we told them, you know what, we'll scan your public code, only your public code. If we find something interesting, we get you as a customer. And they said, okay, go for it. It took us less than 24 hours. And we came back to them with a report and we said, listen, guys, this is everything you have. This is the database, this is the database keys. And they said, okay. Where do we sign? And that was the first logo we got in another company. And as a startup, this is an amazing moment, right? The first money, the first company, the first US company. Every moment like this is like mind-blowing.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, we're heading towards the end of the session. I do want to give you, Idan and Bipin, some more airtime to ask each other any other questions you may have to extract insights that you may need to do your job better. So please feel free.
Yeah, I would love to learn. I would love to learn more about what you're doing for. Are you building a source code scanner? Or is more of an SCA tool?
So basically what we did with Spectral, we built an engine. The engine can scan any type of code. We basically look at code as text. So anything textual, we will scan it when we can find issues. And when we started from, before we started, the vision is to scan for everything that can cause a security breach. That's the focus. We scan any type of code, wherever it resides, whatever coding language that you're using, and we scan it for potential security breaches. And we started from secrets, and I mentioned this, so secrets, token, password, all of that. The second layer that we added was infrastructure as a code. So if you're using infrastructure code, Kubernetes, Terraform, even some kind of log system, we will scan the configuration, make sure that it is done by best practices. And the third layer we added a few months ago was open source vulnerability. So if you're using Log4j or any other open source that is not safe, we will tell you. And as we are part of Checkpoint now, and this is obviously available as part of the Checkpoint dashboard and everything, but also as a standalone tool. But the idea is that all the other capabilities that are relevant to scanning code are basically starting to become part of Spectral. So the example I just gave, the open source vulnerabilities, was actually part of another tool in Checkpoint, and now it's also part of Spectral. So Spectral is an engine that can scan for multiple use cases, multiple issues in the code. Mm-hmm. And as we talked about, it's developer friendly, meaning we integrate with whatever tool the developer are using. We give the alert in Slack and PagerDuty. And the idea was that on one end, we give the developer the ability to keep the experience that they have when they are developing code in whatever tools they're using. They are getting the alert there. Yeah. They know what to solve and they know how to solve it. But you, as the owner of security, you get, first of all, visibility, which before you probably didn't have. So you get this nice bird's eye view dashboard with all the groups in the organization. In each group, you see what repos exist and what repo was scanned. Yeah. And what is an issue. And when you see an issue, you can allocate it to a team, you can see trend, you can make sure that your organization is protected, but without needing to actually go every day to people and say, please fix it, please fix it. They, like we said, they are the owners. So
the big talking point of all the source code scanner is false positive. So yeah, every tools out there spits out a ton of false positive. How do you make it more efficient and like reduce that?
Yeah, so we did two main things. First of all, very, very, very strong research team here in Israel. People, from the army and stuff. This is what we do. We basically reverse engineer the type of software that developers can build and then or can use, and then we build the detector based on that. It's not just looking for random string of letters or something like that. It's actually reverse engineering all those mistakes and building more and more detectors. And on top of that, we added machine learning models based on scanning public code, and we combine the machine learning with the research to get very, very low false positive. But on top of that, the second thing we understood when we started helping large customers is that one of the ways to reduce those false positives is to be able to support different use cases. Because when we talk about false positive, one person can look at something and say, this is a terrible false positive, and another person can say, this is something I'm interested to know. So what we did, we enabled, when you run Spectral, you can run Spectral in multiple ways. You just add a flag like this. For example, if you're the security person, you have a command that you run. And if you're a developer, you run a little bit different command. And if this is an audit, you run a little bit different command. You just add the flag.
More of a reporting side of things.
Yeah.
If you go a little bit more technical on, is it like rule-based scanning, or is it like you're scanning binary, or you're looking at runtime code? Like,
so this is a binary file. So this is a binary file you download to your machines or your cloud, and it will scan locally your entire code base. So this is just a binary file you run. It's a Spectral scan. It will scan statically. So it's a static code scanner that will scan all the code that reside on your machine or cloud.
Okay.
By the way, that's another thing that...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was saying that this is actually another thing which is unique, is the fact that we run all our scans locally, right? We obviously, one of the customers we work most with is financial organization. When you know that they don't want a vendor to store their code. They don't want a vendor to check their code. Basically, I could tell you, send me your code to my servers. I'll check if there is an issue and I will tell you. And instead of that, we provide you with our scanner and you run it locally. All the data remains on your premise. And that was something we saw that is very important. And that also helped us not being responsible for our customers' code. We just give them the tool, they run it locally, they run it on premise, and they get everything locally. And by the way, thanks to that, we were able to get the ISO 27001 and SOC 2 very, very fast, because the structure of the tool is unique in that way.
So I think Veracode also does the binary scanning, if I remember correctly. Right?
Yeah, but we are different than Veracode because they search for everything which is SaaS, right? They check for multiple types of SaaS issues, and that potentially can mean that the tool will have a lot of false positive. Maybe it might be a little bit slow. Spectral is, I think today, it's like the fastest code scanner in the world. But we don't do SaaS. We don't check for...
So you just leave the secrets detection primarily?
Yeah, secret detection and infrastructure as a code and the open source vulnerability. Those are the things that are focused on, not all the SaaS area.
Yeah, because once you get into SaaS, there's so much over there, it's like ocean.
Yeah, exactly. And there is another tool in Checkpoint, by the way, that can help you with SaaS, but that's not what we wanted to focus in Spectral. Because it's a red ocean, because we believe that there are many tools that you can use to do that, and we wanted to go to other areas that are more concerning.
Excellent. Any other questions, Idan, for Bipin before we sign off and give us our last thoughts here?
Maybe I'll just say that I hope that this session got people that are not familiar with the understanding why building or using a tool that is developer friendly is so important. I think if you're using something which is not developer friendly, and it doesn't have to be Spectral, but you really need to understand that using tools that are developer friendly is critical to have the organization protected, and this will enable you to get people inside the organization using the tool, protecting the organization, and making sure that everything is done in the right way. And we have a lot of content about it. We also have open source tools that we offer. We really anything that we can do in order to educate the industry. The developer first is so important. I really recommend to use it and enjoy it. And obviously we are here to help.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, both of you, for joining the call today. It was such a pleasure. You are always welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was great talking to you guys.
All righty. Well, thank you so much. This has been another episode of Audience First. We are out.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Audience First. If you like what you've heard, feel free to follow or subscribe to Audience First on Apple, Spotify, or any of your favorite podcast streamers.